of the tools and encourage investigation and experimentation. I agree there, Jack. The ability to experiment and to explore without fear of being scolded for failure. And this is something, we learn in business. It's something that actually was very critical to the company Atari when they started. One of the things, if you talk to the founders of Atari, they will tell you one of the critical keys to their success, right, when they basically born the video game, market in mass to the world, was that at Atari you had permission to fail. You had permission to fail, but you had to learn quickly and move on. And that is something that we don't teach our kids enough of. We always tell them that it's important not to fail, right? In failing, we learn what not to do, right? We learn how to become better. And if we have this constant pressure upon our kids all the time to be perfect and perfect scores and perfect this and perfect that, they will not experiment. They'll be loath to, they'll loathe that experimentation. It is something that they'll be seeking because the penalty is too great. It's something we don't give our kids permission to do enough, is permission to fail, right? Permission to fail doesn't mean you accept a failure all the time. It means you learn from it and move on. That's what we need to give our kids the ability to do. Permission to fail. And by the way, permission to daydream too. Incredibly powerful. That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Jack. Couldn't think more. Linda, you're absolutely right as well. It is moving and changing faster. Think about this. We have been living, like I said, living with the internet for 16 years, only 7 of which have really seen the massive, 9, there are 10, the really mass explosion of adoption. And you're talking about this feeling as though the ability to educate slipping from your grasp. What we need to be able to do is to look at the platforms where our kids are living and society is living today and meet them there. Meet them there in a way that meets the expectation of the platforms they've adopted. If we're trying to pull them back into our world, if we're trying to pull them back into the facilities that we feel most comfortable in, we're going to continue to lose that battle. We're going to continue to slide down that slope. It is really a matter now of going out and meeting people from where they are. We've unleashed this thing. There's no going back from it. So it's now how do we use it to its best effect, right? There's no simple answer to it. I completely agree. But it's what we need to do to be able to move forward. So, Robert, how are we on time? Or
we are fine as long as you're willing to stay on.
Yeah, but I'm not boring anybody.
We're running about 15 minutes past the scheduled time, but if there are still more questions and Chris has the time, then we'll keep the channel open.
You're right, Greg. Chemistry, that's exactly right. They do need to know that medicine is made and materials are made by real people in the real world. Yeah, that reminds me of a video that I saw. A comedian was doing this big piece on having dinner with a woman who showed up who was all about alternative medicine and these sorts of things. And the comment the comedian made was, well, when medicine is proven to work, it's no longer alternative. We call it medicine. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it is important. What's really cool, think about this. Imagine taking a platform like the Folding at Home project and then using that to explain what is going on at the molecular level between the folding of these proteins, and then extrapolate that out, build that out into teaching the periodic table through experimentation, visualization of these pieces. We're living in an ever more visually based world, an auditory world. We have to be able to figure out how to use some of these tools in that capacity to further teach. Oh, no problem, Jack. Thank you very much for your time. Carlos, thank you as well. And folks, too, this is one guy's opinion. And this is somebody who kind of lives bathed in this technology and bathed in this stuff, and it's so central to my life. And so it's, I could be completely wrong, but some of these things have proven to have borne out, and it's all about how we use them best and most comfortably in our lives. So. The copyright problem is something that's going to be going away, Carlos. There's another piece of video that I'll point you towards. If you go to Hulu, there is a documentary on a performer named Girl Talk. It's his stage name, and Girl Talk is this mixer. And what he does is he'll make a song out of sampling about 25 different other pieces of music, and he'll remix the tracks, and he'll just take chord samples and he'll flip them around, he'll run them backwards, he'll mix them with other things. So when you're listening, you kind of have the familiarity of a particular riff, like there may be a Michael Jackson notation section in there. You'll pick up a Stones reference and these sorts of things. And they had the registrar, I guess, for the Copyright Office in Washington, who doesn't own a computer at home, has never downloaded a piece of music off the internet before, but is responsible for administering and basically proctoring the copyright laws in this country. And asked, well, is this guy running afoul of copyright laws? And she said, well, it's hard to say, but yes, he would be. And the fact that what's coming out the other side is a completely original piece of work. And if you look at all of the songs that he picked, they have their roots back in other songs and so on, so going all the way back even to, early American songs and things like that. And so a representative from, I believe, the RAA was out in Washington, had a bunch of kids there, and said, how many of you ever downloaded a piece of music off the internet without paying for it? And all these kids raised their hand. He said, I could have you all arrested. And they all looked at themselves like, this guy, this incredulous look on their face. And what are you talking about? The notion of copyright, was really about protecting a work that allowed, that basically served the public, so the public could actually iterate on top of it, but keep the copyright intact. Right? Unfortunately, we've used it as a hammer. And it's one of these things that is continuing to evolve over time. As the specter of technology and the loss of control continues to diminish over time, as we come to a greater understanding between artist, promoter, and consumer, those lines are going to continue to blur and go away. The smart ones, it's very interesting. The Potter Puppet Pals, I have not seen a cease and desist letter come from Rawlings Company for the Harry Potter Puppet Pals, because all 77 million of those use free advertising to go buy the books. Right? So the smart companies are going to figure this out. The bad ones are going to fall to the side. Right? Just a matter of time. And financing those applications, the open source community, by and large, builds technology platforms and education platforms and product and materials without expecting compensation. It's about doing the community good. It's about contributing to the world. It's about doing something that has a lasting importance. And, you tap into those things. It's a very basic, I think, human instinct. This is something we want to do. Where there are ways of doing this without getting the massive amount of funding required behind it. Will it have the polish of a $30 million product from EA? Probably not. Then again, we may be surprised. Right? It's all too new. We're still figuring this stuff out. It's a great challenge, though, and I'd love to be part of how we figure it out. So I think we're pretty much to the end of this, right? If there are any other questions, there's my email address, chrism@pastpixels.com. Please do not philanthropists have been rich people. Well, yeah, but then you can also point to, Mother Teresa wasn't probably very rich, had the backing of a very large institution, of course. But there are plenty of examples of people that are not rich that do very great works in the world and do it for the betterment of society and other people. Philanthropy at a very large scale helps a lot of people a little bit versus what we can do individually. You'll be amazed at what comes together when communities can form. And it is through the internet that these ad hoc communities can come together. Bill Joy, one of the founders of Sun Microsystems, had this saying, and I'll paraphrase it. He said, the smartest people don't work for you. You can't hire everybody that's smart. But if you give people the sense of ownership, and you give people the sense of community, and people a sense of contribution, you will find that they will take portions of their time that's available to contribute. Now, if I can do that in the aggregate, I wind up building a very strong force. A Hollywood guy, I forget who it was, said that there's no way that YouTube will ever outpace the movie industry because we have people like Steven Spielberg. Yet all I need is 1 million one-hit wonders, and I can get 1 million one-hit wonders out of 200 million participants in this space and completely dwarf the entire history of the movie industry. Right? It's not the same in terms of its fidelity and its placement, but the fact is the content is there. People are creating these things, right? We can rally that. We can use that to do better. Of course, you need to feed your family first, and you feed the rest of the world. Absolutely right. Believe me, I am not above earning a living. I am not above taking money for the work that you do. Absolutely not. And there are some, of course, like with any other, technology is very close to religion for some people, and like with any other religion, they say, well, all it should be free, you should make it free, and you shouldn't profit from your work and everything else. That's ridiculous. Last time I checked, I couldn't take the piece of open source code that I went to the bank and paid my mortgage with it. So that's just stupid. Okay? I mean, hey, look, technology is no replacement for idiocy, right? There are idiots everywhere. So, we get that. That's all fine and good. But I do think that people are willing to give up portions of their time if they feel they're doing something, they can do something better or something beneficial with it.